GM fam, let's focus now on porting a project from Brownie to Ape. The only prerequisite for this unit is that your Ape framework environment is up and ready to roll. So if your Ape framework environment's not working, check out the previous video on this tutorial. And if you're having any trouble getting your config file working, please feel free to reach out. We're happy to help. But we're assuming you're ready to rock and roll and you'd like to convert a Brownie script into Ape. We're going to focus on a script which we've done in a previous Brownie unit on how to interact with crvUSD's peg keepers. So the peg keepers are very useful contracts within the crvUSD ecosystem. They're responsible for keeping the peg, and they do so by essentially trading into several vanilla V1 curve pools. Within authorized limits, they're allowed to mint new crvUSD for the purposes of trading into this pool and buying it back. And it tries to do so in a manner that's profitable. And what's really cool about the peg keepers is you can actually take a share of their profits by calling the update function that triggers this trading. So the script we looked at previously is doing just this. It's basically a Brownie script that looks at the peg keepers. It calls the estimate caller profit function to see if they've accumulated any profits. And if so, then it calls the update function. Let's get ready to convert this into Ape, though. As we looked at in the previous unit, Ape has a very useful article that describes a lot of the ins and outs of porting a project from Brownie to Ape. And while we encourage you to read through the whole thing, a lot of it focuses on things like tests and Foundry. We're going to keep an eye, though, on this quick cheat sheet that they include towards the end of the article, which includes a lot of the things that we're going to want to watch out for. So most notably, on line 3, you can notice probably one of the major problems, which is we're importing stuff from Brownie, but we want to import from Ape. Line 4, this cheat sheet here, mentions that it's very easy. Just changes from Brownie to Ape. Now, in this case, you have to be careful that you're importing modules that actually exist in Ape. Fortunately, the contract and the accounts module still both exist in Ape. As we scroll down, we'll notice there's no issues. There's nothing here that's Brownie artifact. The first thing that we run into is line 19. Line 19 is using this contract object, but that's the same in Ape. Similarly, on line 20, it's calling the estimate caller profit function, but the syntax is the exact same, so we don't need to make any changes there. You might occasionally need to watch out if you're passing a variable like 10 to the 18th to an Ape contract directly. Then Ape does require that's wrapped in an integer function. So be on the lookout for that, but in this case, this is not being passed to Ape. This is just within the Python outside of Ape, so we're still good. In fact, the first place where we run into some trouble is line 27, where we're using the update function to actually write data to the blockchain. And when you're doing this with Brownie, you pass in curly brackets the from argument to say who is actually calling the smart contract. Ape uses a different nomenclature for this. Instead of using this curly bracket syntax, they're just going to have this passed as arguments directly to the function. So most of them actually have the same name as in Brownie. So for example, in Brownie, you would use this to pass, for example, value if you were sending Ether to the contract. You could use it to pass a block identifier if you were looking at historical data. And these keys are the exact same and follow the exact same syntax here. The only key I've noticed that's different is from becomes sender. So we will go ahead and replace this with sender equals user. I'm going to change the accounts 0 to user for reasons that will become pretty obvious in a second. And other than this, all the contract calls are good. So as we proceed through the rest of it, we notice the get ETH price is just some basic contract calls. Get gas price is just an API call. So the last thing that we have to watch out for is how we're going to pull the accounts information. And here we're going to point to a different article within the ApeWorks documentation. And the accounts works pretty similarly to Brownie, but note here that if you're using tests, they include a bunch of pre-funded test accounts, just account 0 like we previously saw the script was invoking. That's universal throughout Brownie, but within Ape, if you're accessing these through scripts or directly on the console, This is actually not invoked as accounts 0. It's going to be invoked as accounts.testAccounts0, which allows you to kind of more seamlessly like import and interact with accounts directly. So this becomes accounts.testAccounts0. Other than this, we should be ready to roll. So if we run our ape scripts pegkeeper, we're running this within our virtual environment process, our config file set up to run this using a mainnet fork, and starting up a Foundry Anvil forge here. And as we can see, the peg keepers have been busy within this crvUSD pool. It's managed to accumulate a whopping $3.69 in profits. But gas is a little bit high right now, so at 36 GWei, it's going to actually cost us $19 to claim the $3.69. So yeah, we don't give trading advice here. You can decide if that's a good or a bad trade for your own sake. We're not going to take it, but we hope that if you have any questions, reach out to us. And if you find this useful, feel free to take all the profits for yourself. You've earned it. Stay safe out there, friends.